This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
That is Alain Poupart from Sports Illustrated. If you're a Dolphins fan, make sure you bookmark that page and save it. There you go. Don't forget to smash that like button and visit the great people at Sports Grill and tell them that you heard it right here on the show and that you love the Dolphins Insider Reports with the great Alain Poupart and his Montreal Expos hat. By the way, I liked your article a lot on Ogba and the options if they lose Ogba. And obviously they're going to allow Ogba to test free agency. And I thought, by the way, I thought the list was pretty thorough. And overall, when you start talking about maybe one or two of your favorite players from that list, from the obvious ones to the maybe under the radar guys like an Ogba was, who were they for you in that list?
Yeah, well, you kind of put me on the spot Monday, and I told you I would do my homework and come up with a list, and then I figured let me put it in a story. You know what the big takeaway for me was in researching it, both in the draft and in free agency.
Deep.
Exactly. Like it's really easy to say, well, no, we don't want to give Ogba too much money and all that. Well, great, go ahead and replace him, because especially with the draft. If you look, there's a lot of really good edge defenders, but guess what? They're all going to be gone by 29. Obviously, Hutchinson, Thibodeau, Trayvon Walker, Karlaftis, Jermaine Johnson. Those are really like Jermaine Johnson to me is like the Tasmanian devil, but guess what? Ain't going to be there at 29. So right. you get to 29, and then once those guys are gone, and to me, it was like a whole lot of stretches. Like my list had like Logan Hall from Houston, who's like kind of a semi-project because he played inside at Houston, but his body is like he's perfect. He's a perfect fit for a 3-4D end. And it's one of those guys who's got upside. It's probably not going to make a huge impact early on. And once you get past the first 5 or 6 of those edge rusher or edge defender prospects, the likelihood of them being able to make an impact right away diminishes. And Dolphins are operating as in that they're not rebuilding. They're not like,
no, they shouldn't be rebuilding. There's no rebuild here.
I agree.
There's a retool of the offense and win a couple of more games than what you've won in the last 2 years. That's what the job is.
And maintain on defense. And you're not maintaining on defense with logically if you replace Ogba with a guy you get at 29th overall in the draft. I don't believe so. And then the free agency list, a big name. I mean, Chandler Jones is like a brilliant pass rusher. Jadeveon Clowney. Wow. Clowney, the thing with Clowney is not going to be – well, he had 9 sacks last year. And, dude, he's very good against the run. He is very good.
Yeah, I get that, but he's not the pressure guy that you really need. And the 9 sacks is like a career high for him, and that's because
he had another season where he had a good sack total. Again,
he needs a contract. That's why.
Okay.
But
look at the list.
The next name is the one that intrigues me. Go ahead. That's the one.
Randy Gregory?
Boom. That's the one, because that's the guy that was an idiot that has maybe figured out to stop being an idiot. And then you watch the last couple of years and he's actually turning into the player that he could be. And maybe the best is ahead for Randy Gregory.
Correct.
Since he's been able to stay away from trouble, I would take a chance on that guy. And he can't ask for the world because he has the baggage.
Correct. But the buzz out of Dallas is they're going to make a play on him, even if it winds up potentially costing him DeMarcus Lawrence. And now we get into a whole different conversation where he would become, to me, ideal choice. But
he has to ask for less money because he has had 2 Ogba outplayed him badly the last 2 years, by the way.
Well, he's had some injury issues. But
I'm just saying production-wise.
No,
Ogba is the better player the last 2 years than DeMarcus. And I like DeMarcus, but you probably can get a little bit of a bargain there on that one because he's got to kind of reprove himself a little bit.
Yeah, we'll see about that. I'm not so sure. And even Randy Gregory, even though the upside is there, again, I'd rather have Ogba than I'd rather have Randy Gregory. To me, I'm still baffled by the Dolphins, to be very honest. I'm baffled by the Dolphins not tagging Ogba instead of Gesicki. I mean, we discussed the logic. If you're going to do Gesicki, that's fine. From that standpoint.
Yeah, but I think
17-8, dude, it's not the end of the world.
No, but I think the reasoning here's stay with me on this.
Go ahead.
The reasoning is okay. We'll try to negotiate a contract to take that tag off of Gesicki by the deadline. If we can't, okay, the tag is not crippling. But on the defensive end tag, if we don't come to a contract, then that money could be crippling because it will limit what we can do in free agency because we have to anticipate that space. And as you know, that's a hard space. There's no way of moving it. So if the number's 19 or whatever the hell it is for a defensive, how much?
17-8.
17-8. So that 17-8 is locked in. So 17-8 of your cap is already used up. So I think they don't want to risk that if they don't come up with a deal, then they're stuck with it, that 17-8, and they can't be flexible with it. Whereas, as you know, that if they can then agree to a deal, he'll probably count like $5 million the first year against the cap because they'll lower it down or something like that. And so I think that's the only reason why they're not doing it, because they fear that if they don't get the deal that they want with Cantor, then they're stuck with that contract on a hard line number. That's why.
For who? For Agba?
Yeah. And then it limits their flexibility.
Drew's agent, not Cantor.
Oh, Drew's agent. I'm sorry, Drew.
Right. But then when you're playing a dangerous game, because now you risk losing him. And to me, again,
you're right.
As I've said before, he is way, way more important to the 2022 success of the Dolphins than Mike Gesicki. And again, we've talked about how much cap space the Dolphins have. Well, you can sacrifice $6 million. To me, it's not the end of the world. And I think I didn't like the move. I still
now here's the other thing. Now let me add another caveat that you and I don't know. What conversation did Chris Grier have the last week in the combine with some agent about one of these free agents? And who knows if they kind of met in the middle already on something. And when free agency starts, you'll see them replace Agba right away with whatever plan they had in place. You know what I mean? So that might be the other thing too. It's kind of a catch-22. It's Drew Rosenhaus going that week going, oh, okay, I got a lot of business for Agba. Yeah, Miami, yeah, we want this. Oh, that's a little high.
Right.
Well, Drew knows he has that money out there somewhere, so that's why he's asking you for it. And on the flip side, Chris Grier and company probably have a plan already. Like, okay, well, we're not going to give him a tag because we like this guy and we're going to get him for less money. And we think we're going to get pretty damn good production from it. So there's got to be, in other words, there's got to be a method behind the madness.
One would hope, but it's always, these negotiations very often come down to a game of chicken. It's like, yeah, go ahead, test your value. And then Dolphins thinking maybe, guess what? You're going to come to a sad realization that you're not getting what you think you're going to get in the free agent market, and then come back to us and we'll talk again, and maybe they'll get him at a number they like as opposed to what Drew's asking right now. Again, to me, maybe I'm overly cautious.
Nobody can argue your stance, dude. Everything you're saying makes sense. Yeah. It's just a matter, like you said, it's just a matter of, you would hope that they must have something in place. You know what I mean?
Yeah. They weren't supposed to technically negotiate. Remember, the illegal tampering period is Monday. Oops.
Tampering period. Yeah, sure.
Tampering.
Yeah, sure. All right. Is there are you expecting them to be really active on the offensive side of the ball, like the O-line? Because that's where I really would like to see two veterans added to that O-line and bring real balance to that line. And I think it would help the young guys actually develop to have two studs with them that are proven guys.
No, I would expect them, and I would expect them also to use that to not have to like reach and then get yet another offensive lineman in the draft. Yes, absolutely. I would expect them to sign one or two free agent offensive linemen. I would expect them to make a move for wide receiver, and they're in no rush. Like, for example, I don't necessarily want them signing Allen Robinson to a huge deal on the first day of free agency. I'd rather see how it plays out, because there could be some really good players available.
I want Cooper.
Amari Cooper.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I actually want to get really greedy, and I want Jamison Crowder, move Waddle out and sign Cooper also. That's what I want to do. because I don't think Crowder will break the bank, but I love him as a slot guy. And then now I got the speed of Waddle and Cooper on the outside in the route running with Jamison Crowder as a terrific slot receiver. And that I think gives to an awesome receiving core. And then you could use Gesicki as your big receiver, as your fourth guy.
And there could be, and I'll give you two other really good slot receivers who could become available, who are not right now. That's Cole Beasley and that's Jarvis Landry, who are two very good slot receivers. Obviously, you have to make the money work.
Yeah.
Landry did not leave the Dolphins on the best of terms in 2018, but part of his issue.
But it's not these people. It's not the. It's
well,
the,
part of it is we wanted to get paid, and also there were some issues with Adam Gase. So
yeah. But those people are gone, so I don't think he should hold any kind of grudges because the people that he was dealing with, I doubt he has any issues with Chris Greer. I'm sure it was all Gase, pretty much at that time. So that might be, but he might ask for more money than Jameson, right?
That's a question. Well, that's a question.
What I like is Jameson is also a returner. He can help you out a little bit in the return game.
Who's scheduled to be a free agent, speaking of returners, right?
I know, and he's going to have a lot of takers. The legend.
Well, he will get offers, but accept the value of the returner these days. I mean, again.
I know. He's the only one that can return them for touchdowns. So, there's not a lot of value there.
No, there isn't, actually. You're right. There isn't.
The only guy that can score from one side of the field to the other is the incredible Jakeem Grant, baby.
There you go.
They'll be lined up at the door. I heard there's already like 15 teams waiting at his house.
That's it? Only 15?
They're all lined up there. They're just waiting for midnight, and then they're all going to go knock on the door, and then Jakeem will let them in one by one. And, he'll be sitting back like Caesar. What are you offering me? And, that kind of stuff. So, yeah, Jakeem Grant is, when we grow up, we want to be Jakeem Grant. I'm telling you. Or at least we want to be his bank account. That's for damn sure.
There you go. I'll take that.
Follow him on Twitter at Poupart NFL. Catch his work there at Sports Illustrated. Bookmark his page. You are not a Dolphin fan if you don't bookmark the Sports Illustrated Miami Dolphins page. That's where you will get all the info. And by the way, that article with the defensive ends, he had all kinds of guys there. But I forgot to ask you, which is the sleeper one that you like out of that group? Because Randy Gregory was the one. What was the other guys of the under the radar guys?
They weren't them. Good old memory. Hassan Reddick certainly not under the radar. Melvin Ingram certainly not under the radar, and he's long in the tooth. I don't think I wrote about it, but Nwusu from the Chargers is intriguing. He's like a guy. He's a former second-round pick who looks like he's on the upswing, but he's more like an outside linebacker. Because remember, the thing is with Agba, he's quote unquote an edge defender, but he's like really like a D end in a 3-4. And some of these guys most of them are like quote unquote outside linebackers. But I'm trying to think and Wusu is one guy that was really intriguing to me. But he'd be more like a Van Ginkel on the other side, like a Jalen Phillips on the other side, like an oversized linebacker / pass rusher.
How about Hassan Reddick, which is another one that you wrote about, and he's the
same deal. He's
kind of gotten better lately too.
Yeah, he's pure get after the quarterback, outside linebacker, which is fine. You could use bookends with him, with either Jalen Phillips or Van Ginkel on the other side. Not sure how that leaves you against the run, though. This is why Agba is good, because Agba is solid against the run. I don't want to say he's a great run defender, but he's solid against the run. Yeah. And he has good pass rushing ability as well. So that ideally is the type of guy you want to find. And those don't grow on trees. That's why I'm saying I'm going to keep repeating it. Dolphins need to re-sign him.
Can't argue with that. Follow him on Twitter at Poupart NFL. And like I said, bookmark that page. As a Dolphin fan, it is a must. Alan, thank you as always, my brother. We will catch up later on next week.
Yes, sir. Have a good weekend.
Thank you, sir. There you go. Alan Poupart and that beautiful Montreal Expos hat.
This
is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.